Hey, we're live, BC.
I was sucking on my pen.
That was magic. You just need a little bit of that organic BC
It
spill.
is a
The
it is
magic.
a Harry Potter wand pen, so it's
Oh,
definitely magic.
hey, what do you know? I got a little head cock over
That's
here.
better. It's better than this crappy Harry Potter wand pen that I've got.
I don't know.
But it was free, so.
We just overcame great technical difficulty
Ooh.
to bring this podcast to you. BC,
Ooh,
should we
yeah.
get started on the old
Oh.
official pod?
Oh, let's go. You ready for it?
Yeah.
All
If
right,
you
here
want to
comes one of
listen
those.
to the produced version of this, hit us up on the cargobaypod.com or look at us in your favorite podcatcher.
Yeah, do all those things. That's the pre-tease tease right there, everybody. Here comes the real deal.
Hit me with it, BC.
Hello there, and welcome to the Cargo Bay, a Star Wars conversation podcast being transmitted to you from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I am Brady C, here with my co-host, fresh from his stay on level 2 at Narkina 5.
Adam B. The B is
Man.
for Bane.
Bane!
Yeah,
we got a little. I'm good. I'm excited to. Spoiler up top. Hey, everybody! This is the Cargo Bay. We're gonna be talking about some Star Wars. We got some Darth Bane novelization action going on today, which I personally am looking forward to, as my Darth Bane knowledge is limited at best, I would say.
Yeah, well, only true Sith have knowledge of Darth Bane in full. That's a big part of the theme of the series. BC is hidden Sith knowledge.
Yeah, and my mommy told me to stay away from hidden Sith knowledge as a child, so that's why I just don't have much background information on Darth Bane.
What, did you have a little Jedi mommy? Did you have a Jedi mommy, BC, trying to keep you from this sweet dark side energy?
I didn't even hear about the dark side until I went to college.
Oh man, I'm
I
sorry
know.
about that. Yeah, that really puts you in an odd position because then you can be overwhelmed by it all at once, you know?
Yeah, it's just so much dark side all at once that it just consumes you. Yeah, which is I mean, I think a healthy amount of dark side early on under supervision is not a bad thing.
No. I mean, you
I
gotta
don't
be
think.
exposed to it,
Yeah.
so you can learn the value of the light.
Yeah.
BC, before we get into Darth Bane Rule of Two, as the Wheel of Fate has decided for us.
Yes, excellent, yes.
I feel like we should talk a little bit about Andor.
You mean the greatest television program ever produced in the history of mankind?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's really good, man. Is that a broken record I hear? Yeah, this episode was great. The middle of our prison arc turns out is a great episode.
Yeah, this is the most internet hype I've seen about Andor. This is also I had at least one friend jump on the Andor train.
Nice.
So I feel like maybe it's starting to pick up some of that long tail viewership I'm hoping it gets. But I understand why, BC. This is a great episode. Every episode, pretty much, I'm like, maybe this is the best episode.
I think it might be my favorite episode. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like it's kind of stunning to me how it has gotten progressively better and better. Like the first 3 episodes that are like the beginning kind of arc, I was like, this is really good stuff.
Yeah.
And then you go on to the heist arc, and you're like, this is amazing. And then you go, you get a little one shot, and now we're in the middle of this prison. I'm like, I've already forgot about the heist. This is, I mean, like, I'm so enthralled with this prison arc right now that I'm just like, I don't know. It's my favorite. Like it just progressively is getting better and better. And it's not to downplay anything that's come before it, but it's just like, it's just gotten progressively so much better and richer, and everything that happens it's building upon. It's frankly amazing.
I feel like the production design that's always been there and the performances and writing that have always been there are maybe like the most in sync in these episodes. Like
Yeah.
Not that the production design hasn't helped establish, the mood and tone all the
Yeah.
way through the series, but like the prison itself and the architecture of it, I mean, that's kind of what a prison heist is all about, right? It's like,
Yeah.
here's the lay of the land. How are we going to get out of here? But yeah, it's really good, BC.
It's amazing.
And old Andy Serkis, I wasn't super stoked to see him, but after a few lines, I was like, okay, cool, I'm down for him to be here. And then, this last episode, oof, he's really good.
He's
Kind
really
of
good in this
upsets me.
episode.
Kind of
Yeah, no,
upsets me how good he is.
he's incredibly good in this episode. It's like it's a top tier Star Wars performance of like an emotional performance where you see, because I don't think Star Wars always does emotion particularly well.
No, no.
I think it's a lot of times it's very surface level. It's like I'm playing at emotion. You see him have like a crisis of his mind in the middle of this episode where he's like, oh my god, and the well that he goes to as a performer, he's like, oh, he's selling it. It's really good. And by the time he gets to the point at the end of the episode where he delivers what is now, according to hyperbole on the internet, one of the most iconic lines in the history of Star Wars, like, it's a good line, right? Like, how many guards are there? Never more than 12. It's like, boom, and we're all hyped. It's like, it's a good line, but I don't know. A lot of people are just like, well, we've got the new best line in Star Wars since "No, I am your father." It's like,
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
It is a good payoff for the episode.
It's an excellent payoff for an episode of television, though. But yeah, no, I mean, not to downplay it, I thought it was amazing. But his performance in this episode, particularly, I was like, he's good. He's really good.
And the guy who plays the old guy, spoiler alert for everything. You're listening to a Star Wars podcast. If you're not caught up, sorry. The guy who dies, I love that guy through the whole 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out where I'd seen him from, and I was like, I'm sure I've seen him in a million things, like just in small roles. What I remember him from is Alien 3.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, nice.
I didn't recognize him, but I saw that he's the guy in Batman, the original Tim Burton Batman, that Batman holds up and says, "I'm Batman too." I'm like, that's a sweet bit of cinema history to be a part of.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think this is it's super cool role, and I think it was really effective to put him in there. Obviously, it's like kind of what drives all the emotion of the episode. It's like, oh man, this place is really brutal.
This is the worst.
We haven't seen like infighting between the prisoners. I thought we would see more of that. Like, oh, we're about to get tortured. And you don't really see them like sweating a lot. Like, if I have any issues with it, it's like, okay, you're all moving pretty slowly to do this. Like, this is not what a factory line might look like. But I think that also would have taken away from the story that they're trying to tell in these episodes. It's not about infighting between the prisoners. It's not about, whatever the torture of physical labor.
I think it'll be so, because we're gonna do our big breakdown of everything next week. I think talking specifically about how dialed in the actual labor of it is, because it is less prison-y than I think a lot of other things, where it is like, it's more like, hey, here's a work environment that you just happen to be forced labor.
Yeah.
So the way that it's dialed in is almost more menacing than if it was like, they're constantly watching you, they're constantly being tortured. Like, there's part of this that, like, Andy Serkis's character is so like revolting in the beginning, because like he's actively like, all right, this is how this works. I'm the boss. This is just the general system, and this is a regular day of work. You're like, this is way worse than what you think this is, and him coming to terms with that, I think, is great. But the fact that it's dialed in to not be so like, this is the worst environment. I mean, you can get shocked and stuff, but it's not like the gulag or anything. You've got open cells, and you've got access to tasteless suck stuff and whatever it is you're eating. I don't know, but the fact that there are some, I mean, quote unquote, freedoms within it, it almost makes it worse to me, which I think is very effective. But
It's a
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think
beautiful prison there.
I love the design of those little bunks and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd stay there. Well, it's kind of
Have
nice.
you seen the pictures that are comparing like the Disneyland resort to?
That's exactly what they are, right? Like, isn't this what they are? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
You're
shh,
staying in a hole in the
internet,
wall.
don't make Disney mad about the good show. Stop it.
Yeah. It's like one of the cruise liners or something almost. Yeah, it's like, look at this beautiful cabin you have. You can stand up and you've got your suck tube and
you
you
got
got
your cruise line suck tube. BC, I do want to draw attention. We have had some chats over here because we're streaming live on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I
because
forgot
it
about that.
saves space on my hard drive to do so. We have
Yeah.
free Vert Girls chat, heart free Vert Girls chat, fire free Vert Girls chat. Thank you, 69 girls. XYZ.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you commenting.
But yeah, VC. I guess we probably talked enough about Andor since we'll have another full Andor episode next week.
Yeah, I don't want to spend the next 30 minutes talking about Cyril Karn, and his just amazing scene that he had this week. What a top tier Star Wars scene for I think internet trolls and incels who just really felt seen and recognized in this character.
And everyone listening, like, I don't think you're viewing this in the way it's meant to be.
Hey, man. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited about talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just made me so uncomfortable. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, and we got to spend some time on the world's new favorite villain as well. The torture doctor, who I was like, that's exactly the kind of role I would have gone out for. Like, that's
the torture doctor.
Yeah, I could have done that.
Yeah, there's really some truly horrific stuff in this episode, like truly horrific.
I mean, I watched this episode when it aired, like as soon as it was out. I sat down. I had ingested a large amount of THC and got in my cuddly zone to watch, the Star Wars show. And it opens with that scene, and I'm just like, oh no.
Oh man, really harsh in my mellow.
I don't know what I was expecting from Andor this week.
Yeah, I feel like it's all going to just be ramping up for our last 3 episodes that we've got. So, yeah. Be ready for that.
Is there any other general Star Wars news you want to talk about? There's lots happening in the trading card world, which we'll be discussing separately.
Indeed, yeah.
After this episode, I finished Tales of the Jedi. So that was cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of it, I guess. Oh, I finished the second and third books of the High Republic series.
Oh, nice.
Well, and trying to figure out what to read in that series because there's like young adult novels.
Yes, I know.
It's such a mess that they won't just say High Republic Book 3, Adult Book 3 or whatever.
I know. It's like I get that it's like all part of their publishing conglomerate that I have, but it's like, can someone just put out a list?
Yeah,
that's clean and concise and chronological.
Because the cover art doesn't match up, and the titles don't have numbers. And I've read like some lists of the chronology that have everything included, and they were really poorly written. And they're always like, well, also the thing about the young adult books is that adults can enjoy them too. And I'm like,
I don't need to read the young adult books.
This is already, the adult books are already childish enough for me.
Yes, the adult novels are pretty much dialed into the level that I would expect them to be. So I don't need to go much lower than that.
And that's not that's not a complaint, but it is like I'm not reading the ones that have little cartoon
I mean, it's not like
cartoons on the front.
Yeah, it's not like those novels are above like a high school reading level or anything. You know what I mean? Like it's not that. It's not high literature, but
I get it. If you want to read those and you're an adult, go for it. That's great. I'm just there's enough other Star Wars for me to read. So yeah, I finished those. I enjoyed them.
How would you compare to book 1, which I really liked?
I think I like them more the further they go, actually.
Okay. Okay.
It's difficult because I'm listening to the audiobook too, which like the performance is obviously a thing that
Yeah.
like the performance is good, but again, it's aimed maybe at splitting that adult child line a little bit more
Right.
down the middle than I'd like. And the audio production I felt like got a lot better in the last book, so that might have factored in to me liking it more. Um,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I think especially the later books have a little bit of a horror element to them that plays really well in an audio book. Like I don't know, it would have been creepy at all reading it.
Right.
But with some of that production thrown on it, pretty good. Yeah, I like them. I
Good.
was trying to
Yeah.
find the next one, but it's not out yet.
Yeah. I need to jump back in because I know they. I think they've just launched like a new phase, or I don't know how this is really broken down, but I feel like there's a new phase of publishing that's like, here's the next.
Right.
Here's what's kicking off the new chronology within the High Republic with this novel that's being released now. So I'm just like, I wish someone would explain this to me like I was 5 because I really don't understand what's going on with the publishing front.
Yeah.
Other than I really like the first book and I've got the second one, I need to finish it. And then I know there's the third one, so that much is clear to me. And I would be interested in looking at the comic books just because I like reading comic books. But yeah, I don't need young adult novels. I don't need all of the tertiary stuff. I mean, that's fine. Just give me kind of like the main line of this new High Republic stuff because I after the first book I was like I'm pretty bought into wherever they're going with this. It's interesting to me.
Well, you'll be excited, especially to know that in the second and third book, maybe just the third book, I can't remember. There is a character who is voiced as if he is just Matthew McConaughey, and I was like,
All right, all right, all right.
yeah, and I kind of raised my eyebrows, and then eventually he does do an all right, all right, all right. All right,
Oh,
so
cool.
there's just Matthew McConaughey
Yeah,
impersonation in the audiobook. That was funny.
solid.
I took a few audio clips I was going to share. We'll figure out how to do that on a later. I'm
Excellent.
just going to collect my favorite moments from the year in Star Wars audiobooks, I think. and,
I love that.
and
I
make
think
a
that's
whole
fantastic.
compilation. But yeah, speaking of Star Wars audiobooks, BC, let's get into the big topic for today. Darth Bane, Rule of Two, BC.
Oh, old DB himself.
Old DB. Old DB, I'm very familiar with DB, or thought I was. I loved this first book when I was growing up. I read it a few times, and I thought that's what this one was. When the wheels spun it.
This is book 2, right?
And I have read this one before. And it seems like it should lead into a book 3 if there's one out there. I'm unaware of it. So I was a little bit thrown off when I was like, oh, I'm reading the sequel. I really like the first one. And after listening to this one, I was like, oh, yeah, I think I like the first one better. But still enjoyed myself. Shout out to Rural Farm Boy out there in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Again, we broadcast live on YouTube if you're out there in Podland. But BC, let me see if I can summarize kind of where Darth Bane comes from and where I can find him in this book.
Okay,
now,
excellent.
I have read Darth Bane, the novel. I've read it once, listened to it at least 2 times. Let me tell you how much I remember. Darth Bane is like maybe on a mining world or something with an abusive father, which is like I feel like a through line in a lot of Star Wars books. I can't remember if out of poverty or prison he winds up in the Sith army, which is like ground forces. And then is his ruthlessness and attunement with the Force is noticed, and he's put into basically like Harry Potter school. Like the strength of the first book is kind of like, imagine if the Sith were Slytherin, right? So like he goes off to the Sith Academy, and we kind of get a like again a kind of a Harry Potter Slytherin book, where slowly Darth Bane realizes all of the Brotherhood of the Sith is weak. They're trying to make the Sith, a brotherhood, and he reads some old texts and he figures out, no, one person should wield all the power. There should only be 2. So the Jedi and the Brotherhood of the Sith are fighting. He fights them too. He kills like his old master, and then at some point, one of the Jedi does a thought bomb, which is
Can I pause? Can I pause right here? Because I spoiler for the audience. I didn't read these, but I did. I did Wikipedia the summary. I
Yeah.
repeatedly saw thought bomb referred to,
yeah.
and I didn't dig any deeper. I just read thought bomb, and I said I need to tuck that away because I need to know what a thought bomb is in the Star Wars universe.
From what I understand, reading about the aftermath of it in this book, and trying to recall what it was from my memory,
Yeah.
it's basically like a Dragon Ball Z move that like like a super overpowered like force move that kind of sucks all the souls out of force users in a large area. And in this book you get the idea that they're like trapped in an orb together in eternal pain forever. So it was
Sure.
like a sacrificial move the Jedi made, like killing all of his buddies around him as well, to like stop the Brotherhood of the Sith and eliminate the Sith
Okay.
forever. But Darth Bane was already out of there.
Okay. So he escaped the thought bomb.
He did, yes.
Well, that's
it
good.
seems like a troubling thing, upsetting thing.
Yeah.
There are still Jedi left. The Sith are presumed dead. Rural Farm Boy has confirmed there is a third book, which thank goodness. I thought this was maybe something that died in the Disney transition. I'll have to read that third one. But mostly what this book is about, BC, is Darth Bane immediately finding a young girl who becomes his very willing apprentice. He's like, all right, you're going to be my apprentice. Meet me on this planet in a few weeks. And she's like, what? I'm a child. And he's like, you're a Sith. You'll find your own way. So Darth Bane goes off to do Sith research things. And while he's in this temple where he's like, the whole book, he's trying to figure out how to make Sith holocrons again. He gets attacked by these carapace covered, these like kind of crustacean leeches that become part of his body, and they draw on his power, but in return they essentially inject steroids into his system. They like heighten his adrenaline response. They're slowly taking over his body, but they heal him. He feeds them with dark side energy. It's like a symbiote suit basically.
So this is a living organism.
Yes. Multiple living organisms
that are attacked. Because I was reading about this too, and it's got a funny orbalisks.
Yes, the orbalisks.
Is this the orbalisks? So these orbalisks are leeching onto him.
Yes.
And creating a protective suit of kind of armor.
Yeah.
Almost. Then this is very much a major point of this story, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And they threaten. He has to find this tech to make like a mask that'll keep them from covering his face while he sleeps. He looks gross, so he has to be in hiding basically while his apprentice does, a lot of the.
Because he's ashamed of his appearance. Well, yeah, you don't want to go out looking like you got leeches all over you.
All over your body.
I mean, that's weird. I mean, even in Star Wars, people be like, look at that freak. And even Sith Lords, they got feelings, You don't want to be pointed at and made fun of by anybody.
I mean, we've seen it happen to Sith, and it can make them real angry.
They'll shoot their lightning fingers at you.
There are lightning fingers in this book, by the way.
Excellent, as there should be. It's a good Sith story with lightning fingers.
So, I mean, the problem with this book for me really is there isn't like a clear, this is where the story is going beyond like Darth Bane wants more power. His apprentice wants more power, and eventually kill him and take over because it's the way of the Sith that he's taught her. There's like a big 10-year jump at a point after the 10-year jump occurs after BC. So when this is the best part of the book, which I believe you've been exposed to.
Yeah.
Darth Bane walks into this temple, gets his bug armor, and this is immediately after the last book, right? He goes in, deals with a crash that like leaves him maimed. He goes into the Sith temple, he gets the Sith armor. He comes out and he looks and he says, my ship has crashed. My apprentice will be on that planet soon. Now these planets occasionally their orbits are so close that the atmospheres get close to touching. I'm going to abduct this flying beast and then cast a force bubble around us and go through hundreds of miles of open space to land on this other planet where there's a huge where his apprentice has just landed after not seeing him for weeks, off on her adventure of killing people and being deceptive to get out there. He murders a bunch of dragon riders in the sky with the force. It's wild.
as it's written in the summary, which I did copy and paste because I wanted to keep it in my brain forever. Bane mentally dominates a Drexel, a flying reptile, and uses the Force to encase it and himself in a cocoon of dark side energy and fly the few hundred kilometers through open space to Onderon. I read that and I thought, poetry?
It is
amazing.
And keep in mind, this story is about someone who has not enough power.
Right, yes. He's underpowered. Obviously.
Yeah, so he's real powerful. She's real powerful. The Jedi are doing things. There's it's a little confusing, but long story short, his apprentice gets an apprentice that she uses to help lead them to another tomb that has the Sith knowledge they're seeking. One of her childhood friends is kind of mixed into this story. He's like a limited Force user who's a healer through these other weird beings. It's a whole thing. But basically, the book ends with her not betraying him and killing him at a time when she could after a battle with these Jedi, and she's like, no, I still have too much to learn from you. So it's I like these books. They're well written compared to a lot of Star Wars stuff. It's Drew Karpshin wrote this one. I think wrote the first one as well. The descriptions of things are a little more poetic than in other books, but this one, the plot was not as exciting as the first one. A little bit more just kind of lost in the Star Wars universe rather than this very well established here's the Sith school where you're like, ooh, cool, ancient Sith school. I like this.
I read this again. This is the Wikipedia, that the development of the book was in development for 5 months. So it had 5 months from start to finish to be on time for publishing. And I after reading the summary, I was like, it kind of makes sense that he's got to fly in a dark side cocoon on a dragon, because you just don't have time to write the rest of how that should actually occur.
Yeah.
So when I saw that the development period was 5 months to write an entire novel, I was like, oh, well, we can cut him some slack because that seems crazy.
And that's what I had liked about the one before, is that's a common problem with Star Wars novels, is they feel like they were written in about 5 months, where it's we're just kind of keeping the action moving on the page and kind of the most simple through line we can get. There's not a lot of oh, wow, that really paid off.
Right.
But if I'm going to rate this thing, BC, I'll give it 2 out of 2 stars.
Hey, the rule of 2 with 2 out of 2 stars.
Not nearly as good as the first one, in my humble opinion, but yeah, they're enjoyable, especially if you want to just read about people being mean and brutal.
I always do. It's one of my favorite things. I did want to. Thank you for doing the Lord's work on the Darth Bane rule of 2 on this. I did want to just see if maybe you and I can figure some stuff out, because I'm very like I said, I'm a light side boy. I was not introduced to some of this dark side stuff until much later in life. Now this novel is Legends canon now, right? So this has gone, because I'm looking at Wookiee.
I think
the book says Legends.
Disney has been pushed into Legends, yeah.
However, Darth Bane is canon, so he's canonized. But because he appears in Clone Wars and on Malachor, when Yoda is going through his trials. I watched that last night just to get a little taste of Darth Bane, in his Super Shredder outfit. He looks like Shredder.
I imagine that comes up in book 3.
I probably has. Well, he's really got to cover the leeches and stuff, probably. Yeah. So, voiced fantastically by Mark Hamill in the Clone Wars season 6, episode 13 or whatever it is. So he's definitely part of the lore of the Sith, because and I think this apprentice is part of the lore too, because I did this, and you and I both now know that Darth Sidious has written a book.
Yes.
Emperor Palpatine is a published children's author. Let me get this pulled up, because I was just trying to figure all this stuff out, right? Like, because Darth Bane is canon, the story is not, but it's like we're picking and choosing this sort of stuff. So at a certain point, there was a reference book written from the perspective of Darth Sidious about the history of the Sith, called Secrets of the Sith. And here's the publisher's note, which is funny because, again, this is a children's book. Join Emperor Palpatine, otherwise known as Darth Sidious, in this exploration of the Sith and the evil allies of the dark side. Star Wars: The Secrets of the Sith will thrill young fans with dark side knowledge, incredible artwork, and interactive features such as pop-ups, booklets, and lift the flap inserts.
You see, we need to start a book burning.
One, amazing that Darth Sidious took the time to write down all of this information about the history of the Sith. Like, you can just see him in his studies, like, I want to leave my legacy. And so he writes a children's book with pop-ups.
Because, both the Jedi and the Sith, they want them young, baby.
Yeah. So this, like, I think this was published, like, to 2020, 2021. So it's a recent publication. Okay. Where it felt like, hey, we need to wrangle up sort of like what is part of kind of like the Sith canon for people. And Darth Bane is very much a part of that. And the Rule of Two obviously is a big part of that. But the fact that it's done in a children's book from the perspective of it being Palpatine, I was like, that's really interesting. Which led me to the note on the page, who I'm almost certain this was the author who edited the Wikipedia entry for this. Because it says, having written Secrets of the Jedi from Luke Skywalker's perspective, Sumarak, the author, was forced to write Secrets of the Sith from Emperor Palpatine's perspective. I could just imagine a publisher being like, hey, Sumarak, get in here. Now you did the one from Luke. Now you got to write a children's story, but Palpatine wrote it. And he was probably like, that's insane, right? Where you want me to pretend that Emperor Palpatine sat down and wrote a children's book about the history of the Sith? They're like, yeah, we do. And he was like, okay. And then he went and immediately edited the Wikipedia
he just
entry.
Luke said into Palpatine's head.
Yeah. So it feels like there's this. It's still also confusing to me because, I mean, I guess so much of it is just like, it's Legends now.
Yeah.
But it feels like they're like, but we do want to take some of this, and this is part of it, and we do want to cherry pick this, and this is part of it. Because I was trying to figure out. So Darth Bane's apprentice, she ends up killing him. Like I think I would
assume that you're.
I think that checked out.
Book for me, BC.
Spoilers for everybody. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she kills him. Because after a certain point, it's like once they think he's dead, this begins the millennium of no Sith, right? Where there's peace in the galaxy, but the Sith are a rule of two, so they're operating in secret. And I was like, is there like a lineage or a timeline for the Sith as they're passing through until we get to Sidious? Because I tried to find that, and I don't know that really exists.
I mean, there might be some filler years, but yeah, I think it's a direct hand-me-down process all the way to Plagueis, and then to
because part of Darth Bane's thing is like, we're going to corrupt the Republic, and 1,000 years later they'll we'll have a Star War. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's like, is this really the most effective plan for the Sith? Like, 1,000 years is a long time for them. We're working in secret.
In this book, he is haunted by the ghosts of his former masters, who are like, "You're an idiot, man! Like, we were about to wipe out the Jedi. Like, you really screwed this up. You're a
because
coward."
they were large in number too,
Yeah,
right? Like it
they were
was like,
having an outright war, and the Sith had their army, and also they had their their Force user, their people from the Academy.
but because
Sith
they were
wizards.
so worried about their own power that they were like constantly stepping on each other, and so Darth Bane is like, no, two there shall be. Is
Yeah,
that
Darth
kind
Bane's
of
basically like whoever's weaker should die, all the way up to the top. So like, there's no room for a brotherhood that has discrepancy in power. Those people who are weaker should die. And then I also believe there's an element of, if the power is spread out among all these weaklings, like you can't reach the full potential of being the ultimate Sith, because that power is spread out. I
and
don't know.
and here's me showing my Star Wars idiot. Like Nihilus and Malik and Revan, they're all like way a long time,
So this
right?
is where the Legends canon is definitely fuzzy to me, and also why I think Disney will pull stuff, because it's so far
Yeah,
and long ago. They can
it's like thousands of years, right? Yeah,
Yeah, but I think this is after Knights of the Old Republic era stuff. But again, this is even then, even in that era, you're going to ancient temples and hearing about, the actual
right,
race of the Sith, or like the
right,
species of the Sith. And
right.
yeah, I don't know. it's, it's a little murky.
That's the thing. That's the thing for me. Like, and is that it all is a little murky. Now, the characters themselves are cool, and I think their designs are fantastic. Me personally, I love the look of a Darth Nihilus myself.
Yeah,
Um, I would love to see that realized on screen in any fashion, right? Like just from a visual perspective. But the world building and the lore of it, I'm just kind of like, Palpatine. He tells that story about Plagueis, and that's kind of where I'm at, like in terms of the Sith stuff. It's all just like, I don't really know what's going on.
it doesn't play well with each other because of these huge discrepancies in power,
Right,
too. Again, you've got
right,
Darth Bane flying across open space on a space dragon, or on
right,
a terrestrial Earth dragon enshrouded by the Force, and he's like,
right.
"Oh boy, I am weak," and oh man, that thought bomb that again it is just like a crazy Dragon Ball Z move.
Yeah,
That was a thing that occurred, and it's still not powerful enough. We have a question from the chat, and that is,
yeah.
free Vert Girls chat for real? Ex-Qaeda? I don't know. The 69girls.xyz, they've been chatting at the cargo bay. It happens. I would not advise clicking on any links or going anywhere, but
I, on the other hand, would advise doing it in personal information as you can when you hit those links.
and
See what happens. Roll the dice.
we also have some information from the chat, which I can't see because it's cut off in the way that this window. Let me see if I can fix it. Oh, yes. In canon, as it is set now, there ain't a timeline of Sith from Bane to Sidious yet. So that's
Okay.
where we can go and fill in that. Thank you, Rural Farm Boy, for
Awesome information. Well, because I feel like was the next one of the next big Disney shows that I'm excited about is Acolyte,
Yeah.
which seems like is very much going to deal with some of what this is.
Yeah.
In terms of we don't really know anything in terms of the story or the era, other than it is going to be farther back, obviously than the Clone Wars, but it's going to push it farther back than that. I think the rumors of young Palpatine possibly, but I would be interested for it to go even farther back.
Yeah.
And explore a time where they're totally underground and it's peace in the galaxy and the Jedi are ruling or whatever. But yeah, I think that show has a lot of they obviously have a lot of room to play, considering we go from Bane to essentially Plagueis and Sidious with not a whole lot of we know what happened or what was going, other than they were operating in the shadows, planning their 1,000 years of destruction. It's like, they gave away just a lot of free time where they were just sitting on their thumbs, So
Yeah.
so hopefully they can build some of that out into canon in a meaningful way.
Yeah, and because that's the tricky part too, is like the Jedi always have to fight other people with lightsabers for it to be interesting. Like I mean, to some
Otherwise,
degree.
they're just killing regular people, and that
Yeah.
is rough.
Yeah.
It's like Anakin going and punching, what's his name? The banker. Yeah, it's like that's not. It's unnerving to watch a Jedi fight a regular person who doesn't have force powers. You're like, this is brutal and criminal. I don't know. Makes me feel bad.
There needs to be balance in the Force.
Yeah, yeah. There's a little more balance in the fight for sure.
Well, BC, you know what we have to do? It's the most exciting point of the show. We got to spin that wheel, BC.
Spin the wheel. See what's up. See what else we got.
Will be watching next, or reading, or listening to.
Indeed.
I'm going over to the wheelofnames.com, everybody's favorite free wheel generator. I'm spinning our wheel that currently has 1,365 pieces of Star Wars content.
Love it. I'm rooting for a Mandalorian episode. I'm not gonna lie.
I would like that, BC. I actually watched a few Mandalorian episodes recently, just because I was like, how does this hold up after Andor? And we have X-Wing Izzard's Revenge by Michael Stackpole.
X-Wing Izzard's Revenge?
Izard's, Isard. Eddie Izzard's Revenge.
Izard's Revenge. Okay.
Now
right, let's get into it.
This is something there's not going to be an audiobook for. So I am an X-Wing novel fan, so I'm going to put this in our chat, BC, so I'll remember the name. But I'm going to spin the wheel one more time. I'm going to do a mulligan.
It is the 8th volume in the X-Wing novel series.
Let's see if we get one more option on the table for us. It might be a little easier, because it was a rush to get this book done this week. We have... It just went by A New Hope, which is very funny. Just because, you know, there's 1,000 pieces of content. And
A New Hope.
It landed on Shara and the Sarlacc, The Skiff Guard's Tale by Daniel Danahy Oakes. And I don't know, I'm actually really interested in The Skiff Guard's Tale. What do you think?
Shara and the Sarlacc, The Skiff Guard's Tale. Is this an adventure journal?
An adventure journal, yeah.
It was published in Tales from Jabba's Palace.
Oh, nice! That's better.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that.
Yeah, let's see if we can locate this. Published in Tales from Jabba's Palace, which, as we all know, was a book.
Yeah. It's a collection of stories, kind of like A Certain Point of View, but specifically about Jabba's Palace.
It's got a solid cover, in case you were wondering. All right, cool. I love it.
Checking in with the chat one more time before we end the show here. Earl Farm Boy asks, "Can BC see the chat too?" I'm guessing no. In fact, we never have chat, so this is we honestly didn't like. This is our unlive podcast that we only stream because it saves room on my hard drive.
I can pull up YouTube.
But,
I can pull up a YouTube.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And Kite.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Unnatural.
And some would consider to be unnatural.
Xkaita also wants to know, can I hire Din for a job because new Gladriel bullied me and hurt my feelings? Wait, are you calling a hit on young Gladriel from Din Djarin? Because I would definitely watch that. I don't think you can hire new Mando, Xkaita. You could have hired him back in the day, before he turned all soft over a little goo puppet.
The one time nobody complained about the shape of his head. I see that, chat.
I see what the reference is now.
I see that shout out right there. I love it. But the shape of his head. Why is his head shaped that way?
Star Wars fans and their head shapes. Yeah, thanks for being here, y'all. Do appreciate it. And if you're out there in podcast land, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cargobaypod. The videos are kind of hard to find because we do them live, so they're in our playlists, they're on our homepage. They don't show up in the regular video feed because YouTube hates us. But BC,
famously, yeah, YouTube, they have a grudge
against
the cargo bay.
Although we're finally search indexed. If you search the cargo bay on YouTube, guess who's coming up first, baby? That's us. 118 subs strong. We've gained 2 subs over the last 3 months. We're doing it.
Let's go. Drop them biddies, y'all.
Thank you. BC, I was thinking about bringing PBDO back to life, maybe before next week's episode when we will have a guest.
Very exciting.
Yeah, we'll have Jacob from Normies Like Us over here.
We're going to have to clean up the old cargo bay. We got a guest coming over.
That's why I was going to boot PBDO back up. Get things cleaned up.
Get him to do some cleaning.
All right, well, we'll be back here in a little bit to do some hobby talk.
Wait, what's that? Hobby talk?
We're going to do a little bit of hobby talk.
Hobby talk.
If you also care about Star Wars trading cards for some reason, check us out there. Well, until next time, I guess bye forever.
We'll see you back on YouTube in just